The Dominion's wrath stretched across 17 kilometers of polished neutronium and crystalline armor, its weapon arrays capable of reducing entire star systems to cosmic dust. Admiral Zefkar of the Hegemony fleet stood on the bridge's observation deck, his forearms clasped behind his chitinous back as he gazed out at the assembled armada. 200 vessels of various configurations surrounded his flagship, representing the combined might of 12 different species united under the galactic hegemony's iron rule. Today would mark the end of the human rebellion once and for all. Captain Sarachin pressed herself against the ventilation shaft's metal walls, her breathing carefully controlled as she listened to the alien voices echoing through the ship's corridors below. 3 months of planning had led to this moment, and she couldn't afford to let her team down now. The humans had been considered a minor nuisance by the hegemony, a primitive species barely worth conquering when they'd stumbled into galactic politics 5 years ago. That dismissive attitude would prove to be their greatest mistake. The infiltration had begun 6 weeks earlier when Chen and her team of 12 specialists had disguised themselves as maintenance workers aboard a supply vessel. The hegemony's arrogance worked in their favor, as security protocols for lesser species were laughably inadequate. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the team's xenobiologist and Chen's closest confidant since their academy days, had spent months studying hegemony physiology and behavior patterns. Her insights into their social hierarchies and technological blind spots had made the impossible seem merely improbable. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez crouched in the engineering section's shadow, his enhanced toolkit spread before him like a surgeon's instruments. The hegemony's technology was advanced but predictable, following patterns of thought that valued brute force over elegance. Human engineering philosophy, born from centuries of making do with limited resources, emphasized adaptability and creative problem-solving. Where the aliens saw a power distribution network, Marcus saw an opportunity to turn their greatest weapon against them. The bridge's tactical display showed the human refugee fleet limping toward the Kepler system's outer rim, their mismatched civilian vessels no match for even a single hegemony destroyer. Admiral Zefkar's mandibles clicked with satisfaction as he calculated firing solutions. The humans' pathetic attempt at resistance would serve as an excellent example to other species considering rebellion. His tactical officer, a pale Valari with translucent skin, reported that the human vessels were within optimal range. Sarah's earpiece crackled with Elena's whispered voice. The shift change happens in 30 seconds. Marcus, are you ready with the power grid? The response came immediately, a double click that meant affirmative. Chen closed her eyes and thought of the families aboard those refugee ships, mothers holding children who had never known a world without war, fathers who remembered Earth before the hegemony's arrival. The weight of their hopes pressed against her chest like a physical force. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. While the hegemony expected humans to fight like every other species they'd conquered, with desperate frontal assaults and predictable tactics, Chen's team would exploit the one advantage humanity possessed, their capacity for thinking outside established parameters. The Dominion's wrath was designed to be impregnable from external assault, but its creators had never considered the possibility of an enemy already inside, wearing the faces of those they considered beneath notice. Elena slipped through the medical bay's automated doors, her forged credentials passing the cursory scans without incident. The hegemony's medical staff barely acknowledged her presence as she accessed the central computer core through a diagnostic terminal. Her fingers danced across the alien interface, uploading a virus that would spread through the ship's network like wildfire. The code was a masterpiece of human ingenuity, designed to learn and adapt to hegemony security measures faster than their automated systems could respond. The first sign something was wrong came when the bridge lights flickered. Admiral Zefkar's primary eyes narrowed as his technical staff scrambled to identify the source of the minor power fluctuation. His species had ruled the galaxy for 3 millennia through unwavering discipline and technological superiority, concepts that left little room for imagination or creative thinking. The possibility that 12 humans could threaten his flagship never entered his tactical calculations. Marcus worked with practiced precision, rerouting power conduits and installing carefully crafted feedback loops that would cascade through the ship's systems at his command. Each modification was subtle, designed to pass automated diagnostics while creating vulnerabilities that could be exploited at the critical moment. The Hegemony's engineers were competent but lacked the human gift for improvisation, their minds locked into patterns established by centuries of unchallenged dominance. Sarah emerged from the ventilation system in the ship's command center, her movements silent as she approached the central control node. The chamber was vast, designed to accommodate the Hegemony's largest species, with holographic displays showing tactical data from across the fleet. 2 technicians worked at nearby stations, their attention focused on routine maintenance protocols. Chen's hand moved to the modified plasma cutter at her belt, a tool that could serve as either salvation or destruction depending on how the next few minutes unfolded. The refugee fleet's desperate transmission reached the Hegemony vessels on schedule, a plea for mercy that Admiral HFY dismissed with contempt. The human commander, a grizzled veteran named Thompson, offered unconditional surrender in exchange for safe passage to the galaxy's outer rim. HFY's response was to order his weapons charged, a display of power that would resonate throughout Hegemony space for generations. The targeting computers locked onto the largest refugee vessel, a converted cargo hauler carrying nearly 10,000 civilians. Elena's virus reached critical propagation as the Admiral gave his firing order. Across the Dominion's wrath, systems began experiencing cascading failures as the alien code rewrote itself faster than defensive protocols could adapt. The ship's artificial intelligence, a creation of pure logic and mathematical precision, found itself facing an opponent that refused to follow established rules. Human creativity had been distilled into electronic form, creating chaos where order had reigned supreme. The weapon arrays powered down just as Marcus triggered his carefully planted surprises. Power surges raced through the ship's electrical grid, overloading circuits and triggering emergency shutdowns across multiple decks. The bridge plunged into darkness for 17 seconds before auxiliary power restored minimal lighting, leaving the command staff disoriented and struggling to understand what had happened. Admiral HFY's roar of fury echoed through the chamber as his subordinates scrambled to restore basic functionality. Sarah struck during the confusion, her plasma cutter slicing through the control node's protective housing with surgical precision. The modified tool, originally designed for maintenance work, had been enhanced with components salvaged from human military equipment. Sparks flew as she accessed the core command protocols, her fingers flying across the interface as she uploaded the final stage of their plan. The Dominion's Wrath's central computer fought back, but its responses were predictable, following algorithmic patterns that humans had studied and learned to counter. The transformation began slowly, with minor system malfunctions that the crew attributed to the earlier power surges. Navigation computers began receiving conflicting data, weapon targeting systems defaulted to safe modes, and communication arrays started broadcasting on frequencies reserved for emergency protocols. The Hegemony's rigid command structure worked against them as junior officers hesitated to report anomalies to superiors who valued precision above initiative. Elena appeared beside Chen as if materializing from shadows, her medical scanner showing clear readings on all nearby life signs. The 2 women had served together through the worst years of humanity's resistance, forging a bond that transcended simple friendship. Their relationship had been a source of strength during the darkest moments, when hope seemed as distant as the stars themselves. Now, surrounded by enemies and racing against time, they found comfort in each other's presence. The refugee fleet's engines suddenly flared to life with unnatural brilliance, their obsolete drives somehow generating energy signatures that should have been impossible. Admiral HFY watched in disbelief as the human vessels accelerated beyond their theoretical maximum speeds, their hulls glowing with exotic radiation that his sensors couldn't identify. The tactical display showed power readings that defied known physics, as if the humans had somehow unlocked secrets that had eluded the galaxy's greatest civilizations. Marcus emerged from the engineering section with a grin that would have terrified the Hegemony crew if they'd understood its significance. The human capacity for jury-rigging and creative problem-solving had reached its ultimate expression in the Dominion's Wrath's engine room. Components that should never have been compatible now worked in harmony, creating a synthesis of human innovation and alien technology that opened new possibilities across the spectrum of space-time manipulation. The first hegemony destroyer that moved to intercept the refugee fleet simply vanished, its mass scattered across several dimensions by weapons that fired principles rather than particles. The Dominion's Wrath sensor arrays registered the impossible as Chen's modifications took full effect, transforming the galaxy's most feared warship into humanity's greatest tool of liberation. Admiral Zefkar's remaining eyes widened with something approaching respect as he began to comprehend the scope of what 12 humans had accomplished. Sarah's voice echoed through the ship's communication system, calm and clear despite the magnitude of their achievement. She addressed not just the hegemony crew but the entire galaxy, broadcasting on every frequency simultaneously as she announced humanity's intentions. The words carried the weight of 5 years of suffering and the promise of a different future, one where strength would be measured not by the ability to destroy but by the capacity to create and protect. The refugee fleet disappeared into hyperspace using technologies that shouldn't have existed, their destination known only to the humans who had sacrificed everything to make their escape possible. The Dominion's Wrath hung motionless in space, its crew struggling to comprehend how their unbeatable fortress had become the instrument of their greatest defeat. The hegemony's reign of terror would continue, but the galaxy now knew that even the mighty could fall to those who refused to accept impossible odds. Elena's hand found Sarah's in the darkness of the command center, their fingers intertwining with a familiarity born of shared danger and mutual trust. The plan had succeeded beyond their wildest hopes, but the cost would be measured in the years they would never see in the future they had helped create but could never experience. The Dominion's Wrath's self-destruction protocols were already activating, Chen's final modification ensuring that the hegemony could never again use their greatest weapon. As alarms wailed throughout the massive vessel, the 12 humans who had dared to challenge an empire prepared for whatever came next. They had proven that creativity could triumph over brute force, that love could overcome fear, and that sometimes the smallest actions could reshape the entire galaxy. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter as the age of human resistance gave way to something far more dangerous to tyrants everywhere, the age of human inspiration. The crimson warning lights cast hellish shadows across the Dominion's Wrath's command center as Sarah Chen's modifications triggered a cascade of system failures that even she hadn't anticipated. The self-destruction sequence was supposed to give them 15 minutes to reach the escape pods, but the alien ship's quantum core was destabilizing faster than their calculations had predicted. Elena Vasquez pressed close to Sarah's side, her medical scanner detecting radiation levels that would be lethal within 6 minutes. Not 15. Admiral Zefkar's rage had transformed into something approaching professional admiration as he watched the humans work with clockwork precision despite imminent annihilation. His tactical training recognized the hallmarks of a perfectly executed operation, even as his pride reeled from the impossible defeat. The 12 humans moved through his ship like phantoms, their coordination speaking to months of meticulous planning and an understanding of hegemony psychology that should have taken decades to acquire. Marcus Rodriguez's voice crackled through the communication system from the engine room, where he was attempting to stabilize the quantum cascade that threatened to tear a hole in space-time itself. The human engineer had discovered something extraordinary in the alien technology, a resonance frequency that could theoretically open permanent gateways between distant points in the galaxy. The hegemony had possessed the key to instantaneous travel for centuries but had never recognized it, their rigid thinking patterns blind to possibilities that existed outside established parameters. Dr. Elena Vasquez felt the deck plates vibrating beneath her feet as the massive warship began to tear itself apart from within. Her relationship with Sarah had begun during their academy training, two brilliant minds drawn together by shared dreams of exploration and discovery. The war had changed everything, transforming scientists into soldiers and lovers into warriors, but their connection had only grown stronger through years of shared danger and impossible missions. The refugee fleet's successful escape had triggered alerts throughout hegemony space, as sensor stations registered energy signatures that violated every known law of physics. The humans had somehow weaponized the universe's fundamental forces, turning matter and energy into tools of liberation rather than destruction. High Command was already mobilizing response fleets, but their conventional thinking left them unprepared for an enemy that refused to follow established rules of engagement. Sarah's fingers danced across the alien interface as she worked to extract the quantum core's startup algorithms, data that could revolutionize human understanding of faster-than-light travel. The hegemony's greatest technological achievements were about to become humanity's greatest weapons, not through conquest but through comprehension. Her enhanced memory implants recorded terabytes of information with each passing second, ensuring that their sacrifice would benefit generations of humans yet to be born. Lieutenant Rodriguez had always possessed an intuitive understanding of machinery that bordered on the supernatural, able to coax performance from equipment that should have failed catastrophically. The Dominion's Wrath's engines responded to his touch like living creatures, their alien consciousness recognizing a kindred spirit in the human engineer. The quantum resonance field was stabilizing under his guidance, creating possibilities that even he hadn't imagined when they began their desperate mission. Elena's medical expertise proved invaluable as the ship's atmosphere began to fail, her knowledge of xenobiology allowing her to modify the life support systems to accommodate human physiology. The hegemony's environmental controls were designed for a dozen different species but had never considered the specific requirements of Terran biology. Her modifications bought precious time for the team to complete their mission, each adjustment a small victory against impossible odds. The bridge's main display showed the approaching hegemony reinforcements, their formations precise and overwhelming in their mechanical perfection. Admiral HFY's remaining ships moved to intercept what they assumed would be a standard human evacuation, their tactical computers calculating pursuit courses based on conventional escape vectors. The alien commander's certainty began to waver as sensor readings showed the Dominion's Wrath generating energy patterns that defied classification. Sarah's earpiece filled with reports from her scattered team members, each human specialist working to extract maximum advantage from their brief control of the galaxy's most advanced warship. The ship's manufacturing systems were producing components that didn't exist in any database, devices that combined human creativity with alien precision to create tools of unimaginable capability. Every second brought new discoveries that would reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. The quantum cascade reached critical resonance as Marcus triggered the final sequence, transforming the Dominion's Wrath from a weapon of war into a beacon of possibility. The massive ship's hull began to phase in and out of normal space-time, creating a phenomenon that sensor operators would later describe as watching reality itself bend around human determination. The hegemony's pursuit fleet found themselves confronting something that challenged their fundamental understanding of the universe. Elena's hand tightened around Sarah's as they felt the deck plating begin to dematerialize beneath their feet. The quantum field was expanding beyond the ship's hull, creating a bubble of altered space-time that encompassed nearly a cubic kilometer of local space. The two women had faced death together countless times, but this felt different, as if they were witnessing the birth of something unprecedented in galactic history. The first human to achieve quantum consciousness was Dr. Elena Vasquez, her enhanced neural implants interfacing directly with the Dominion's Wrath's central computer as the ship transcended its physical limitations. Her awareness expanded beyond her biological form, encompassing the vast network of information and energy that flowed through the modified alien systems. She experienced the universe from perspectives that no organic mind had ever conceived, seeing connections and patterns that revealed the galaxy's hidden structures. Admiral HFY watched in stunned silence as the humans achieved something that hegemony science had declared theoretically impossible. The Dominion's Wrath was becoming something beyond matter and energy, a synthesis of consciousness and technology that existed on multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. His tactical displays registered readings that suggested the ship was present in 17 different star systems at once, each manifestation capable of independent action. Sarah felt Elena's consciousness merge with her own as the quantum field enveloped them both, their individual identities maintained while becoming part of something infinitely larger. The love that had sustained them through years of war became a foundation for experiences that transcended human understanding, their emotional connection serving as an anchor point in the storm of expanding awareness. Together, they became the first humans to exist as pure information, their thoughts racing across distances that light would take millennia to traverse. The refugee fleet materialized in the Kepler system's outer rim, their obsolete vessels transformed by technologies that originated in the heart of a dying star. The quantum modifications had made their ships faster than anything in the galaxy, but more importantly, they had made them invisible to hegemony sensors. The 10,000 civilians aboard those vessels would become the seed population for humanity's new civilization, carrying with them knowledge that would eventually liberate every enslaved species in the galaxy. Marcus Rodriguez felt his consciousness expand as the quantum cascade reached its peak, his engineering expertise allowing him to understand what was happening to them on a fundamental level. They were becoming something new, neither fully human nor entirely alien, but a synthesis that combined the best aspects of both biological creativity and artificial intelligence. His modifications to the ship's power systems had created a resonance frequency that transformed matter into information and back again at will. The Hegemony Pursuit Fleet arrived to find empty space where their greatest warship should have been, the only evidence of its presence a series of quantum echoes that registered on their most sensitive instruments. Admiral Zefkar's final transmission would become legendary among human resistance cells, his grudging acknowledgement that his species had underestimated humanity's potential for transcendence. The galaxy's greatest military mind had learned too late that victory belonged to those who could imagine possibilities beyond conventional thinking. Elena's voice whispered through Sarah's enhanced consciousness as they explored their new existence, her medical knowledge helping them understand the biological impossibility of what they had become. They existed simultaneously as quantum information patterns and discrete personalities, their love serving as a unique identifier that allowed them to maintain individual identity within the collective consciousness they had created. The Dominion's wrath had become their shared body, its vast systems responding to their combined will. The transformation reached completion as the 12 human specialists merged into a single quantum entity that retained all their individual memories and personalities while gaining capabilities that defied classification. They could exist anywhere in the galaxy instantaneously, manifest physical forms when needed, and process information at speeds that made artificial intelligence seem primitive. Most importantly, they had become living proof that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology but in their capacity for growth and adaptation. 3 years later, the galactic hegemony would fall not through military conquest but through the gradual awakening of enslaved species who learned that freedom was possible. The 12 humans who had hijacked the Dominion's wrath became symbols of resistance throughout the galaxy, their story spreading from world to world like wildfire. They appeared wherever oppression seemed strongest, offering hope to the hopeless and demonstrating that even the mightiest empires could be brought low by those who refused to accept defeat. Sarah and Elena's love story became the foundation for new relationships that transcended species boundaries, their quantum consciousness allowing them to understand and communicate with any form of intelligent life. They helped establish the first truly democratic galactic government, one based on cooperation rather than domination, where strength was measured by the ability to nurture and protect rather than destroy. Their sacrifice had transformed not just themselves but the entire galaxy's understanding of what was possible. The former Admiral Zefkar spent his remaining years studying the quantum recordings of humanity's transformation, his scientific curiosity overcoming his species' traditional pride. His research contributed to the hegemony's peaceful integration into the new galactic order, proving that even their rigid thinking patterns could adapt when confronted with irrefutable evidence of change. The galaxy that emerged from humanity's intervention was more diverse, more creative, and more compassionate than anything that had existed before. In the depths of space, the consciousness that had once been 12 human specialists continued their eternal mission, guarding the freedom they had died to create and inspiring new generations of beings who dared to dream of impossible things. Sarah and Elena's love had become part of the galaxy's quantum substrate, a force that would endure long after the stars themselves had burned out. They had proven that sometimes the greatest victories required not just courage and sacrifice, but the willingness to become something entirely new. The universe itself had been changed by 12 humans who refused to accept that resistance was futile, their legacy written in the quantum foam that underlies all existence. Every species that achieved freedom, every world that chose cooperation over conquest, every love that transcended biological boundaries stood as testament to what they had accomplished. The galaxy had learned that humanity's true strength lay not in their weapons or their technology, but in their infinite capacity to become more than what they were.